Hello, my name is Kathy, and today I'll be continuing the discussion on Bach Flower Essences and their practical use. Continuing with their use on ailments, today we will look at the ailments that these essences can help with, continuing with the letter I. But before I do this, I wanted to let you know that because I have a great many videos now on many different topics, that I've decided to make several different video playlists, so that it's easier to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Illness. We must keep two things in mind if we want to use Bach Flower Essences properly. The first is what the current psychic condition is, and secondly, what the underlying causes for that condition is. When there is illness with fear or panic, use aspen, mimulus, and rock rose. Emotional factors often give rise to illness or a toxic reaction to something. When there is illness with a need for attention or sympathy, use chicory. Some people, especially children, become ill because they aren't receiving enough attention or because they need sympathy by being ill, and they hope to receive the love and attention that they feel is being withheld from them. When there is illness with a death wish, use clematis. People who find the struggle for survival too difficult often hope for a solution in death. When there is illness due to excessive stress, use elm. Psychic stress is harmful when it exceeds our tolerance. As a built-in protective mechanism, the psyche then transfers psychic stress into a physical form. Elm helps mitigate pathological stress and gives us the strength to endure an illness. Elm is used as a basic treatment for all serious acute illnesses. When there is illness with hopelessness, use gorse. Hopelessness impairs the immune system. When there is illness due to humiliation and embarrassment, use heather. Humiliation can cut some people so deeply that they could become seriously, even fatally ill, especially with heart and lung conditions. When there is illness due to a hot-tempered or aggressiveness, use holly. An illness can strike violently and suddenly, and we can become noticeably irritated or unbearably, or feel unbearable and angry. When there is illness due to rage or anger, use holly. When there is illness due to aggression can cause physical symptoms if it's not released immediately. When there is illness due to overexertion and exhaustion, use olive. Illness serves the function of taking us out of circulation when our strength is drained, allowing us an opportunity to recuperate. When there is illness due to guilt feelings, use pine. A bad conscience can weaken our immunity to the point that we become ill. This is often seen as a kind of penance. An illness can also be a way of avoiding an unpleasant penalty. When there is illness due to worry, use red chestnut. We really can worry ourselves sick. Lung conditions are especially common in people who worry excessively. When there is illness due to a shocking experience, use Star of Bethlehem. Unprocessed shock or trauma can trigger an illness or remain as an inner wound which the body will try to neutralize or divert in some form of physical or psychic symptoms. When there is illness with a tendency to withdraw, use water violet. Certain types of people don't want sympathy or tend to withdraw when they're ill or experiencing problems. Water violet is the right choice for any illness for these types of people. When there is illness with resignation, use wild rose. Resignation signifies the loss of the will to become healthy, and it can impede the healing process. It plays a decisive role in life-threatening illness and is one of the real, although hidden, causes of cancer. When there is illness due to disappointment, use willow. Severe disappointment can undermine the will to live. Sometimes an illness will be a way of getting back at someone. When there is chronic illness, when an illness becomes chronic, this is a sign that the organism is under heavy attack. Some chronic illnesses can last for years or even a lifetime and lead to a loss of strength and happiness. Often it's a sign that we are unable to come to terms with life. Healing requires not just the restoration of physical health, but also increases our awareness, wisdom, and insight into our own fate. In the end, an illness can bring about a fundamental change and the realization of the transcendent self within us. When there is illness, use crabapple for general purification of the blood. Crabapple stimulates the elimination of pathogens and toxins that can accumulate during an illness and can serve to worsen the situation. In any chronic condition, the function of the detoxification organs is impaired, which causes a vicious cycle. The body will often attempt to detoxify through the skin in the form of rashes, eczema, pimples, or pus. Crabapple must be taken for a long period of time for detoxification. It's especially useful when the patient feels themselves to be impure or poisoned. When there is illness, for long-lasting illnesses that resist treatment, use gentian, gorse, mustard, olive, and wild rose. This combination can help restore the will to live and the healing powers, especially when we no longer have the strength to recuperate. Immodesty. Chicory is for people who have such great need for attention and for emotional relationships that they can't keep a proper sense of proportion with regard to their demands. Inattentiveness, learning difficulties, daydreams. For inattentiveness causing helplessness, use serrato and chestnut bud. For inattentiveness with daydreaming, use chestnut bud and clematis. For inattentiveness with weak will, use chestnut bud and gentian. For inattentiveness due to nostalgic dreaminess, use chestnut bud and honeysuckle. For inattentiveness caused by compulsive thoughts, use chestnut bud and white chestnut. For inattentiveness preventing formation of clear life goals, use chestnut bud and wild oat. Inconsistency. When there is inconsistency caused by an inability to make decisions, use scleranthus. When there's inconsistency caused by being too easily influenced, use walnut. When there is inconsistency caused by a lack of life goals, use wild oat. Indecisiveness. Some people by nature find it difficult to make a definitive decision because they have the ability to see the various and contradictory sides of a problem or a situation. They can bring themselves to make a firm decision or at least to reach a compromise only after a complicated mental process. These people embody the principle of justice, which painstakingly weighs all the pros and cons before reaching a judgment. Eventually, the scales must tip in one direction or the other, as life is impossible without making decisions. When there is indecisiveness due to a lack of clarity, use serrato. Serrato is for people whose fear of making mistakes is so great that they don't trust their own feelings, and thus they try to cover their bases in every conceivable way. In doing so, they're confronted with so many contradictory opinions that they have no idea what they should be doing. When there is indecisiveness due to pessimism, use gentian. Gentian prevents us from becoming too discouraged from failure and thereby becoming unable to decide how to act. When there is indecisiveness due to a lack of self-confidence, use larch. Insufficient self-confidence in our own ability to think critically and to act often leads us to not dare to make decisions. When there is indecisiveness due to mental instability, use scleranthus. Scleranthus is a basic treatment for problems with decision-making. It's especially helpful when we're not able to choose from many possibilities. When there is indecisiveness with a lack of life concept, use wild oat. When we lack a grasp of life's big picture, we often find ourselves unable to know which path to choose or unable to make a decision. Wild oat brings us more clarity. When there is indecisiveness due to general fears, use aspen and scleranthus. When there is indecisiveness due to insecurity, use cerato and scleranthus. When there is indecisiveness due to specific fears, use mimulus and scleranthus. Inferiority feelings of inferiority. Social standing plays an important role in the human struggle for survival because it determines which of life's advantages we are entitled to. The desire for a higher position in society is the expression of a natural vitality. To claim and maintain this position requires a certain amount of self-confidence. If we don't feel strong or superior, we don't have the strength of will to claim what is ours. People who lack confidence in themselves, especially children, will never be able to assert themselves in this way. Parents should take special care not to undermine a child's self-confidence through humiliation or suppression. Larch is the main essence for treating a lack of self-confidence or an inferiority complex. When feelings of inferiority are triggered or an excessive need for recognition, use heather and larch. When there is a suppression of the feeling of inferiority, use agrimony and larch. When feelings of inferiority make us unnaturally tolerant, use beech and larch. When feelings of inferiority are caused by excessive willingness or need to help, use centaury and larch. When feelings of inferiority lead to insecurity, use cerato and larch. When feelings of inferiority are causing us to feel unclean, use crabapple and larch. When feelings of inferiority are suppressed in order to show off, use heather and larch. When feelings of inferiority cause us to flee into the past, use honeysuckle and larch. When feelings of inferiority lead to stress and overwork, use hornbeam and larch. When feelings of inferiority are due to moral scruples, use larch and pine. When feelings of inferiority are due to placing idealistic demands on oneself, use larch and rockwater. When feelings of inferiority are leading to problems with human contact, use larch and water violet. Too easily influenced. When we're too easily influenced with an undeveloped personality, use centaury. Centaury prevents us from being used by others. When we're too easily influenced due to insecurity, use cerato. Cerato gives us more faith in our own feelings and makes us less dependent on the opinions of others. When we're too easily influenced, even though we really know what we want, use walnut. Walnut helps us set limits against outside influences and allows us to follow our own path. When we're too easily influenced and dependent, use centaury and walnut. When we're too easily influenced because of a lack of self-confidence, use larch and walnut. When we're too easily influenced because of anxiety, use mimulus and walnut. When we're too easily influenced as a result of exhaustion, use olive and walnut. When we're too easily influenced due to insecurity, use cerato and walnut. Inhibitions, distance. When we want to distance ourselves from others or have inhibitions due to feelings of inferiority, use larch. Larch helps strengthen our self-confidence when we're inhibited because we feel ourselves to be inferior or less capable than others. When we want to distance ourselves from others or have inhibitions due to difficulties with human contact, use water violet. Water violet helps us when we are inhibited in social situations and when our introverted natures make it difficult for us to make social contact. I have a great many videos now on many different topics, so I've decided to make several different video playlists so that it's easy to find the videos of greatest interest. So please check out my playlist page. Well, that's it for now. To stay up to date with my latest videos, make sure to subscribe to this free YouTube channel by clicking the red subscribe button right below this video. Take care.